Let's get spooky. This is our Station Boo, where we explore the dark and mysterious corners of the world of horror, and we know that you are dying to listen. Welcome to the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. Introducing our haunted hosts with the most, our lovely Lisa.
Hello. How's everybody?
Karen.
How y'all doing?
And I am Shannon. This episode is where you actually get to learn a little bit about all of us and us as the haunted hosts and why we love horror. Let's get going.
Awesome.
So usually here in this segment, we do like a little news blurb where we kind of get to talk about what's happening in the show, stuff that might be happening in the future. But we also have Lisa, who is going to be offering up all the cool, fun things that are going to be happening in the horror genre as a whole. So I'm really excited to have her run this part of the podcast. But in the future, this is what happened. The next couple episodes, we're not going to do it. But after that, it should be a pretty regular basis for us. But let's get to go ahead and know everybody. Who would like to start with kind of just giving a quick introduction of themselves?
All right. Fanatics of horror or horrorholics, like I like to call you guys. My name's Karen. I like to call myself a hooker, a writer, and sometimes fighter. When I say hooker, I mean that I love to crochet. Unlike knitting, crocheters have hooks, so that's why I always call myself a hooker. I'm a writer. I'm trying to, write a novel to get published, hopefully this year, next year, in a few years. I don't know. I'm a slow writer. I'm kind of like James Joyce when it comes to writing, and a sometimes fighter because I used to do backyard wrestling, and I still train a little bit with my nieces because she's into karate.
Rock on, rock on, Lisa.
Hi, I am Lisa, and I've been in the horror industry on and off for, 15 to 20 years. I've worked on some special effects. I love horror. I've started when I was a kid, and I also do martial arts as well. I've been doing that for a while, and I just love to paint and sculpt and talk about everything scary.
Who doesn't like talking about everything scary?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I'm Shannon. I believe all things horror are my birthright. I'm born on Halloween, so spooky is in my genes. But I am a born and raised Floridian, and I love it down here. I love geeking out on all sorts of things, and with ADHD, it makes it possible. I get to love it all. I just really enjoy life and just experiencing it all. Whatever new adventure comes my way, I'm down for it. All right. So here's the first big question so we can kind of get into the nitty-gritty of horror. What was your first and or most memorable horror movie?
There's a lot to choose from, really. I mean, it's just I couldn't pinpoint it really because my mom was into horror and I used to watch with her a lot. And so it was kind of hard to pinpoint my most rememberable horror movie. But I do remember this one called Don't Look Now, starring Donald Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why I remember Donald Sutherland is because he was also in the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So I remembered him. I was like, oh, I remember him. So yeah, I remember that movie. If you don't know what it is, you need to watch it. It was a great movie. Has a lot of imagery of grieving, and
it's a fantastic film.
Yeah, it's also a book. I just found out. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. That might get tossed onto our reading list.
Yeah, because I'm on it. I probably would do I probably want to do book versus movie. See how that goes.
Of course.
And another movie that I remember watching as a kid with my mom, we had it on Laserdisc. So this is why I remember it the most. It's called The Changeling. It was 1980s.
That's a good one.
And I remember it so vividly because of, well, number one, the wheelchair that the little boy was in, and I remember the medallions a lot, and that those were the first two I remember watching with my mom.
Rock on, rock on.
Two good ones. Okay,
Very good ones.
Very good ones. The first experience I ever had with a horror movie, I was about 7 or 8, and my dad took me to a drive-in when they still had them, and we went to go see Food of the Gods, which was fantastic. I think that's what got me into the monster part of the horror. And you had giant rats and mosquitoes and everything. And I was kind of scared to go out because, we were in Florida, so mosquitoes. Mm-hmm. And then it's also a book by H.G. Wells. And it's a good one. Like Island of Dr. Moreau was my second one that I saw. And then the other one that really got me had to be Ghost Story with Alice Krejci when she was really, really young. And they're telling a ghost story, and it's a good one. And I remember sleeping in my bed thinking I heard the wedding dress shuffling across the hallway. And that
my goodness,
so bad, but it's a fantastic movie. So yeah, that was my first experience with horror. But my dad and I are cinephiles, so I watched a lot of movies with him, and we watched a lot of horror. Some maybe I shouldn't have watched when I was a kid, but
this is like, the early 80s, 70s and stuff. So it doesn't matter, like, what our parents let us watch, because they let us watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
They did. I don't remember what my first one was. It had to have been something earlier on, but my most memorable first one was Silence of the Lambs. I was up north visiting some family, and my brother and I had to stay downstairs and sleep on the couches. And we decided to turn on the TV and watch some TV while we were down there before we went to fall asleep. And I saw Silence of the Lambs was on, and I'm like, oh, I want to watch this. And so I go and I put it on, and I remember having to fight him for the remote because he wanted to turn it off because he was scared. And especially when we got to the scene where he eats the guard's face. And I'm just like, that was the best part. Why are you trying to turn it off? And he's like, it's creepy. No. And I'm like, but
I remember
this is
me and my brother
awesome.
watching that, actually.
But ever since then, it's like every horror movie I fall in love with it. Even if it's like the worst horror movie ever made, I'm just like, nah, I'll still watch it again.
Yeah.
I like it.
I remember that movie, Lady in White.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember that one because my mom was like, ooh, this looks good, in her little Asian accent. And we sat down and we watched it. And I was like, it was very, very memorable because I remember the ghost and the lady in white and her daughter. And I remember, what's his name? Henry. I'm not very good with actors. Lucas Haas. Very young. Yeah, Lucas Haas. And I was like, I had a crush on him when I first saw that movie. So yeah, that's my other memorable one.
So
yeah, it was good.
So what was the first movie that scared you? And it doesn't even have to be a horror film. Like for me, the first movie that kind of like gave me a start was The Little Mermaid. My dad and I went to a father-daughter date. So I was this little kid. We went to the movies. He took me to go see The Little Mermaid. We're sitting there, and as soon as the shark came on the screen, I sat in his lap and stayed there the rest of the film.
Okay. All right. For me, it would have to be Jaws, because for the longest time, I could not go into the ocean. I mean, number one, I don't know how to swim to this day, but still, even if I knew how to swim, I wouldn't just step in the ocean. And also, I couldn't hang my leg off the edge of the bed because I think the shark was going to come and get my leg, even though there was no water around. That movie scared me. My mom's like, why are you so scared? It's just a fish.
Lisa, were you also traumatized by a shark?
A little bit. Actually, I was more traumatized by piranha, the old one,
Fair.
because
Fair.
they attacked at a summer camp, and Dad used to send us to summer camps all the time. I was always worried that the piranhas were going to get out of the lab and come and eat all of us.
So we were all traumatized by something in the water.
Yeah.
Fish with teeth. Fish with teeth.
Fish with pointy teeth.
Yes, fish with pointy teeth. That's what it was.
Fish with pointy teeth. This is probably the question that every person who is listening to this wants to know. What do you love about horror? Lisa?
Oh, it's so hard to explain. There's something about not knowing what's going to go on and the psychology behind it that you get kind of a rush of adrenaline if it's a good one. Even if it's a bad one, you still like, I can't believe she ran in those heels. But it's just the whole I know I can't run in heels, but it's this
That's
whole
facts.
it gets you engaged, whether it's bad or good. Horror always keeps you engaged, no matter what. And it's just kind of cool and engaging, and you get the heart beat rushing, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
And
yeah, no,
it's just
totally
that you
does.
get scared because sometimes if you're watching it in the dark and you hear a noise, even if it might be a cat or dog, you're like, what is that? What is that? And one movie that I didn't get to say, but I love it to this day, but I have a hard time watching it by myself, is Communion with Christopher Walken. Because I saw that movie in the theater by myself. There was no one else. And so my coworkers thought it'd be funny to grab my legs.
That's not fun.
That's not funny.
That's not fun.
Especially if you're by yourself in a movie. It's like someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get hurt, and it ain't going to be me. I mean, if you're scared enough, you're going to learn how to run in heels. I mean, I've seen my mom run in heels, just to run in heels. But for me, horror is the anticipation of what's going to happen next. And also to find out who is actually the monster, because not all monsters are monsters. Humans to be just as cruel,
if not more so.
Yeah, and evil and vindictive and petty. And also just the fact that it can actually really happen, like the movie Hostel. It put a fear of me of traveling a lot, and I was like, I don't know if I want to travel anymore. And then and then I went to Ireland. I was like, I'm paying in a group, and I'm with a group of people. This is okay. I have my street smarts right here. I could defend myself. And also, there was a movie that came out called The Den. It was kind of like, this girl was doing a psychology paper or a sociology paper about people interacting with other people and living their lives through the internet and chat rooms and stuff like that. And then something goes awry, and you cheer her on, and then you see who the bad guy is, and you're like, so yeah, it's the anticipation for me.
Anticipation for you. This is one of the hardest questions for me, because I love everything when it comes to horror. Like, there's not anything about it that I don't thoroughly enjoy. I love the storytelling. I love the special effects. I love the monsters and how they vary, and just the magnitude of them all. I love when horror is based on reality type things or mythology or just a number of different stuff. It's so, like in The Princess Bride, when the grandpa is telling the boy, he's like, no, this book has everything. To me, horror has everything. Like, you have comedy, and you have romance, and you have like all these different fun, thrilling things. And there is that excitement that you get when you're sitting there and you're watching it, and like your heart's pounding because that the villain is on the other side of the door, and you're like, don't go through the door. Or like, what's wrong with you?
Don't go upstairs.
It's like, why would you not run out the door? And so there's there's so much about it that I absolutely love. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to be on this podcast is because I'm like, there's so much about it that I can talk about because I love it all and I want to talk about all of it. And like, yeah, it's just, to me, it's an amazing genre. And I think it's amazing how it reflects humanity in the absolute horridness that is humanity at times, but then at the most beautiful moments, that is humanity at times. You know, that one
Yeah.
person who does stop to help, you know, our leading character, or how that one person does stop and helps their friend up and escapes being destroyed in some fashion. So I think it's something that's really cool, and you can see the double side of everything when it comes to horror.
That kind of reminds me of movie Night of the Demon or Demons, where one of the characters, Roger,
Yeah.
runs away because he noped out, but he came back to rescue his friend,
Yeah.
the female character. And I was like, oh, you're
Mhm.
such a great guy. And you had the most sense out of everybody else. I'm that friend. I will rescue you, but then I'll berate you for being stupid.
I mean, that's fair. Like if you can get out of Dodge, I think it's fair that you're able to be like, I told you so. Like, why did
Yeah.
you not run with me?
I mean, he even jumped out a window and made room for her to go. I was like, he made room for you. Go, follow him.
Mhm. Now, this question, I know I didn't tell you guys this question before, and I probably should have. But what is a movie that you would watch a million times? And it doesn't have to be your favorite film. It doesn't have to be like the best film. But what's a movie that you've watched that really made you go, and this is what horror is about?
Oh, that's a tough one.
For me, it's the movie You're Next. And it's a movie about a woman who is the boyfriend to this guy, and they go to, I think, his parents' anniversary dinner party in like this house in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. And they're sitting there, and the next thing you know, people are getting murked by this like group of mercenaries who the boyfriend's other brother hired to get rid of the parents, and so that way they can split the inheritance. What Homeboy didn't know was that his girlfriend lived in a end of days commune. So she knows how to fight, she knows how to set up traps, she knows how to survive essentially a horror film, and she does. And she ends up taking out all the mercenaries. And it's like,
awesome.
Yeah, it's an absolutely amazing film. It has all the things that you want out of a horror film. And the guys are all wearing masks at the beginning, so you don't know who they are. It's got an amazing soundtrack. And then at the end of the day, you have this badass woman who makes it out alive. And I'm like, yes, everybody needs to watch this film. This is a cool film.
I guess the one movie that I could watch over and over and over again, never get tired of it, is Shaun of the Dead.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
You got red on you.
You got red
I
on
mean,
you.
it's just one of those movies that it's like, oh, it could happen in real life, because you know what? Sometimes I act like Sean, and other times I'm like, I'm going to be the final girl here, and I'm going to survive everything. But if you hurt my friends and my family, ooh, we're going to be rumbling. I'm going to get them to safety. Okay. And sometimes, I'm kind of slow up in uptake a little bit. I'm looking at the situation. I'm like, what's going on over there? Oh, that's a zombie. Well, my mom prepared me for this. And it's the comedy for me in that movie that
Oh,
is just,
yeah.
British humor is just the greatest humor for me.
Yeah, it is.
Simon Pegg has like the best humor. And it's like, and it's the timing of the humor. It's not even necessarily like the jokes themselves. Like some of the jokes are kind of on the dry side, and to the point where, like, even if you really like British humor, you're still sitting there going, that's not a ha-ha funny joke. Like, I get that it's funny, but it's not ha-ha funny. But the way he tells it, and the way he does it, and how he does it, you're like, okay, excuse me, I need to like pause the movie so I can finish laughing to come back to it.
Yeah, yeah. And then I love the whole, best friend aspect. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you have your best friend, you've been friends for years, and he's kind of like, a mooch, but you don't want to call him a mooch, but you love him dearly because he's been through thick and thin for you. And,
Yep.
I don't know if anything happens to my friend, if they turn into a zombie, I'm gonna have to be like, Sean, like, I'm keeping you forever, bestie.
chained up
Don't
in
eat me.
the chained up in the shed out back. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Good
Like,
to know.
this is my family. This is my family. I can't give them up.
I would think the movie that I could watch over and over again would have to be Phantasm. It's got
That's a good
Uh,
one.
I mean, you got this tall guy who looks ominous. That's from this legend for centuries that this has been going on. You got those little creepy midgets that come out of nowhere, and you have the ball with the blades. It's just so there's everything, and just the way he goes, boy, it's just creepy.
it is
And
kind of
I mean,
creepy.
it's just there's all these little elements. You got monsters, you got this weird fly thing, you got you've got a weapon of destruction that you don't know how to kill, and you've got a mortuary.
Mhm.
So and another dimension. So I could watch that over and over again. I
Okay.
love that movie.
We also had that on disc.
There you
Big
go.
huge discs.
Um, when it comes to literature, what would you guys say when it comes to horror? Like, how do you guys feel about horror literature?
Oh, I love it. I mean, my first horror author was actually Dean Koontz.
Okay.
Um, my aunt, she was like, "Yeah, go ahead, borrow it. I know you like to read. Go ahead." I didn't understand it most of the time because I was young, but over the years of rereading it, I'm like, oh, hmm. And I also loved John Saul. He was really good, and I finally got into Stephen King like later on in life. So horror books are like one of the best entertainments for me, besides movies and video games.
Yeah. Lisa?
I I like Dean Koontz as well. I'm actually listening to Demon Seed, which is a movie too, if I
Mm-hmm.
can find it. But also Clive Barker, his books of blood. I mean, he's just a really good storyteller. I like Stephen King, but I have to listen to him because he babbles. And John Saul is really good. And also Robin Cook gave me the creeps because he's got all those weird medical things where people get stuck in comas and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the medical horror a little bit too, because you go into a hospital, are you sure they're going to do what you want to do? So
You go to the
Oh yeah.
hospital. Are you sure you're coming out alive? Or
exactly
Right?
with another appendage, or
That was like my biggest thing when I had my gallbladder taken out. I was like, is this gonna be good? Because like everybody I knew had horror stories, like real life horror stories. Like a family friend had like clamps and things like that left in her. So
oh,
like, yeah. And from a gallbladder surgery. So like to me, I'm going, I thought that was a routine surgery. Wait a second. So
don't
yeah.
leave things in me.
Yeah. And so, I was a little freaked out beforehand. But then like I had like the most like book to the book surgery and healing afterwards. So that wasn't a big thing for me. But going into it, I was like, "Ugh, oh no, what's gonna happen?" um, when it comes to literature for me, I won't lie, I love the classics and I have a hard time going past them. Edgar Allan Poe was kind of like my introduction to horror when it came to the literary side. Um, and Mary Shelley and just kind of like that whole classic literature kind of thing. And I like the poetry of it, if that makes sense. Like I think it's just kind of like it's almost beautiful to read, even though like you're sitting here going, that's really messed up that you have some guy's rotting body under your floorboards. But the way you wrote it, it sounds pretty. Like so, I just Yeah, I really like that the older stuff. Not saying that the new stuff isn't good because it is. It's definitely really good. I enjoyed reading it, but if you ask me like, what's your favorite author, in horror, and I'm like, whole bunch of dead guys or gals. All right, so now it is time for what I think is going to be end up being our favorite part of the show when we have guests on. It's going to be the electric chair. We are an ESO Network podcast. And so if you've ever listened to Earth Station 1, you know that they have the geek seat. Well, the geek seat's a little tame, in my opinion. So we're going to do the electric chair. And I feel like it's on brand for us. So, but since we're going to put all of our guests through it, we decided we will take our turns in the lovely electric chair and answer some of the questions that you're going to hear our guests get asked. So first question is, who is your favorite horror villain? Lisa, do you want to go first?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have to definitely say the tall man. I don't know. There's just something about him that's just really, really, really creepy. And it's like you can kill him, but you can't kill him. It's like he goes back and regenerates and comes back. And I don't know. There's something about him that's just like, ugh. He's kind of like he's been there for a long time and no one's really figured it out until
almost like a myth, folklore kind of thing.
Like a folklore type of thing.
Okay.
So that kind of gives the edge. So he's got to be my favorite villain.
All right.
Because he never turned good or anything.
Karen, what about you?
I would say Freddy Krueger because he was the first franchise I've ever watched as a child. I liked his wit. The fact that he could like attack you in your dreams, come on, that's scary.
As an insomniac, I take offense to that. It's like, I don't sleep a whole lot as it is, and now you're disturbing it? Dude, WTF.
I mean, like, you come in my dreams and you're trying to run me down and kill me. What did I do? I didn't do anything to you. Okay, maybe the parents of this town did, but I just moved here. Why are you attacking me? I mean, that'd be my thing. It's like, why are you attacking me? Go attack them. Those are their children, So yeah, it's the whole fact of falling asleep or trying to stay awake so you don't get killed in your sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he was my all-time favorite villain.
My all-time favorite villain is Saw.
Oh, okay.
Saw. I like the fact that he's a villain. Like, hands down, he is a villain. However, I like the murky morality where you're like, he's trying to do something good for other people. The execution is just way off kilter. But it's one of those, I like the complexity of him. I like how he ended up raising somebody else into like the same kind of theology. But that like he could still befriend like innocence, but at the same time completely wreck somebody's life just because they made like a flippant comment or just were kind of like a little careless or something like that. So I'm just like, this is interesting. And I think there's way more to him as a character. So at the end of the day, he's one of my favorites. I always end up watching those. I'm just kind of loving that weird, morally gray-ish area that's going on there.
I mean, he's what's known as a cleaner. He cleans up the mess that people that is known as people. He gives them a second chance to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And if they can't prove themselves, they basically clean up themselves. They just get rid of they die. They kind of eliminate themselves from society. So he's a cleaner, and it's morally gray, but at the same time, he's not the one that's really killing them. They're killing themselves there. If you didn't put yourself in that situation, if you didn't do bad in your life.
Yeah, but there's also did he really give them a good shot to turn around before he put them in that situation? That's where I'm like, I get what you're trying to do. However, you didn't have a conversation with the person like before doing any of this. It was very much You saw that they weren't being living to the fullest, essentially. And then you're like, I'm going to put you in a trap. And I'm not going to give you any time or not enough time to really like think through what has to happen. Like, how many of us would just end up freezing in that situation if you got thrown into one of those traps? Like,
everybody.
Almost, yeah, everybody. And so for these people to have to like in a split second.
I mean, yeah, if you gave them like enough time. I mean, like, I don't think 2 minutes would be like enough time for me to get out of a situation. No, I'm not Houdini. Mm-hmm. I'm not. You mean like 5-10 minutes? Okay. Yeah. Let me think about this. It's like an escape room, okay? They give you time to solve the puzzle, the problem, get out.
I feel like he gave him a choice, like confess,
Sometimes he did. Sometimes. And then there was a good portion of time when his assistant was the one who was doing everything, and she wasn't giving people the out.
No, she wasn't. No, she was not.
And so that was like what was that? Movie 3?
Movie 2.
Movie 2. Because I remember the hypodermics.
Yeah, the hypodermic needles and stuff like that.
Oh. No. Where she was the one who was making the traps and people couldn't get out. I think that was 3 because of the female detective. Like, she had actually like done it and it never unlocked the way that it was supposed to.
That is 3. That was.
I think that's 3.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
And then there was that dude that got blown up.
Mm-hmm.
He had chains and he couldn't take the chains out. Yeah, that was part 3.
Yeah.
And you guys saw Spiral, right?
I have not seen Spiral yet. I have not.
Good. It's all connected to the Saw franchise. It's fantastic.
Isn't it? Isn't it like the beginning or
kind of like I think it's kind of in the middle. Like,
okay. I fell asleep while watching it. But I had also
it's
taken some sleepy time tea. So
oh no.
I had taken some sleepy time tea. Good. It's good though? Cool.
It's a good addition to the Saw legacy.
Perfect. Okay. So the next is Kiss, Marry, Kill, but horror edition. So as a little plot twist for y'all, our Kiss, Marry, Kill is our favorite horror villains. So we have Tall Man, Krueger, and Saw. So, Karen, who would you kiss, marry, kill?
Well, let's see. I would probably kiss Taylor Maine's Michael Myers version because I like Taylor Maine and he's tall and he's muscular. So, and also I had a slight crush when I saw him on as Sabretooth. I was like, ooh. I would probably marry Candyman because it's Tony Todd. Come on. He's a very beautiful and articulate man. So yeah, and the way he says, be my victim, this is that deep growl that he has. Mm-hmm. So I would have like great conversation. Just read to me. That's all I want you to do is read that story. And I'll probably kill Jason because he needs to die. I hate that. I mean, that franchise went on forever. Ever. I mean, I love the first movie. The first movie was amazing. And then after that, I was like, yeah.
Okay.
Have to get rid of him.
Okay, but the Kiss, Marry, Kill options are the 3 favorite villains that we talked about tonight.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm. So we have Tall Man, we have Krueger, and then we have Saw. Who would you kiss, marry, kill? I know, it makes it so much more difficult.
Krueger. I'll probably marry Jigsaw because of the fact that, he was a family man before the whole thing went sideways when he lost his baby. I would actually marry Jigsaw and also would have a great conversation with him. I'll probably help him through his whole ordeal of being diagnosed with having cancer and whatnot. Kiss or kill? I'll probably kiss Krueger because again, he could kill me in my dreams. but the only way I get to see him is in my dreams. It's kind of hard to kill Kruger too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably kill the tall man because he's just so creepy. It's very creepy.
That's fair.
I will figure out ways to kill him. I mean, that's when Jigsaw will come in and be like,
I got you.
I will help you. My wife, I shall help you. So yeah, that'll be it.
All right. Lisa, how about you?
Okay, I would kiss Jigsaw. I like Jigsaw. I like his articulation and everything, but I wouldn't want to marry him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know he's sick, and I would feel horrible if he eventually died and I was lonely. So I'd kiss him and tell him, "Hey, you're pretty cool." I would marry the tall man because there'd be a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to play with those little balls anyway, the little silver things. And I want to learn how to build them. I just realized what I said. I'm so sorry.
Y'all, you
Silver
should have seen the look on Karen's face. It was priceless. It was priceless. Okay.
Yeah, because I always wanted, they're kind of like shuriken, and being a martial artist, I would find a way to kill Freddy Krueger. I really
Mhm.
would. Deep meditation. If I have to figure out how to astral project and get to him and kill him, I would. There are certain ways to do stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
because I'm also tired of his really bad jokes.
Sometimes, they kind of remind me of dad jokes. They remind me of dad jokes. So
Dad jokes are cool, but that one phone scene, that still creeps me out to this day.
So I actually agree with you, Lisa. I agree with you. Like, as much as I love Jigsaw as a villain, he's not really my type, and he's a little old for me, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, I'll give him a kiss. That'll be about it. Tall man to marry, and then I would kill Freddy, but I would kill him because of the same reason the parents killed him to begin with. That just rubs me a wrong way.
Here's my theory about that, though. I don't think he was really the main villain. I don't think he actually, killed those kids. I mean, why would the girl's mother have his gloves? Like, why? Most killers keep souvenirs, and she mysteriously had his clawed hands, pulls it out from a hiding space. Like, why would you keep that? Did you actually kill those children? So that makes me think like the mother killed the kids, and the father, the cop, covered everything up.
He didn't just kill the kids.
I think she was the one that did it.
I'm not saying that maybe she didn't, but he didn't only kill the kids. And to me, that's a no-go.
I don't think he see, my theory is he didn't do anything. They just needed a scapegoat. And he was probably creepy.
Well, canonically, he confesses to a lot of it.
Yeah, canonically, but I mean, at this point, it's like your truth is going to become my truth now. So,
but yeah. So I kind of agree with Lisa on the order of the kiss, marry, kills. So the next question is: you are hosting a spooky dinner party in a lovely haunted house. You have 6 seats to fill. Who do you invite? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
Okay, this is going to be an interesting dinner.
I'm down for it.
I've got Pinhead.
Guess number one.
Number one. I've got Lucien from Underworld because I love werewolves.
And that's a good choice.
He was a hot werewolf. Then I have Radu from Subspecies. If you guys haven't seen it, pretty good. It's a creepy vampire movie. Doesn't sparkle. Samara from The Ring. The Tall Man, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Peliquin from Nightbreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Tim Curry version of It. And that's what happened.
Oh, that's one of my guesses too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So
like my number one choice was Pinhead because I could have a conversation with him, about life, death, pain, pleasure, all that. I actually put Candyman. I can have a conversation with him. I like to have conversations. Elvira, because I love Elvira. She was like, my queen, my horror queen, growing up.
She's absolutely
Um,
fantastic.
oh,
Yes, she is.
love that woman. Chucky.
Okay.
I love me some Chucky. The first movie, I was like, oh, I don't want a doll anymore, Mama. Um, uh, Tim Curry's It. Uh, that clown was kind of creepy. Which I watched the movie now. I'm like, oh, you're not that creepy. Hmm. And Gary Oldman's Dracula, because he made
Oh,
a hot Dracula. He
yes,
made
he
a hot
did.
Dracula.
He
I
did.
don't
He did.
know.
He did. All right. So I actually have a few that are the same as y'all's. I think it's actually really funny that we all said Tim Curry's It. I think
Great minds think alike.
I think that's absolutely hilarious that we all said that one. I actually love Gary Oldman's Dracula. That one was also on my list. But I did Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't be at my dinner.
I really thought it was kind of like a unique take on Van Helsing. Like usually he's just like weird little old like librarian old man. But here you have this guy who's like an outcast from society and like I don't know. I kind of dug the twist for Van Helsing. I also had the daughter of Van Helsing in Dracula's 2001.
Is Dracula 2001 with Gerard Butler?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, with vitamin C and like there's like a ton of big names in that one. But yeah, I liked it because I thought it was a unique take on like the Van Helsing Dracula connection. And she was kind of cool. She was kind of cool. Like she kind of played him for a little bit, but then played her friends and like I don't know. I thought she was kind of unique. I also had the one lone survivor girl because I can never remember her name and I forgot my list somewhere else. Who survived the very first Friday the 13th, the one who like got taken down after. I wanted her. I thought she would have some good tales to tell. And then let's see here. I have one more. Yes, one more. And Elvira was my last one because I dig her and I've met her in real life. She's an amazing woman. So I'm like, yeah, I have to have her at the dinner table.
I remember watching her late at night. I was like, let's watch some scary movies together.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Yeah. Okay. So now this is probably one of my favorite questions. What two fictional characters of any genre would you want with you to survive a horror movie?
Oh, easy. For me, it'll be Hercule Poirot. The British series of Hercule Poirot, because he'll be able to figure stuff out and be like, oh, this is who's doing it. Blah 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 blah. And then Rambo, because Rambo would take out everybody. Like he'll take out everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Way to go, Sylvester Stallone. You just take him out and we keep running, okay? Come on, Hercule. Let's go.
All right, rock on. Lisa?
Mine would be the bride from Kill Bill, because she
slays.
She slays. And then the other one would be Sho Kosugi from Revenge of the Ninja, because he also slays. So I got two martial artists with me.
Okay. Rock on.
So like we could make, like if it was a werewolf movie, he could turn his shuriken into silver. Here you go, werewolves, that kind of stuff. So those would be my two.
Those would be your two. So then my two are Deadpool. One, because
you wouldn't want comedy.
First of all, Deadpool is my soulmate. Like, I love him. I love his sense of humor, everything. But he doesn't die. He can't get sick. He can regenerate limbs. So, like, what better person to have with you than somebody who's almost disposable, but like keeps coming back? I've thought about this long and hard, and I think I would pick Han Solo. I'd pick Han Solo. He's seen some things. He's been through some things, and he knows how to get out of a mess, and he's not bad to look at. So I feel like I'm good.
I mean, if we're gonna go Harrison Ford, I'd probably like, pick Indiana Jones. Or the cop in Blade Runner. Yeah. If I was gonna go Harrison Ford route.
I mean, Indiana Jones wouldn't be a bad idea either. But
Because Harrison Ford is like he's still good to look at at this age.
I
For
know.
me anyways.
No, he
I
does.
saw the new Indiana Jones. It was great. And he still was hot.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like you see it and you're
Yeah.
like, sir, you're not supposed to look this good. What are you doing?
I mean, it's Harrison Ford.
But I can,
It is. And
but I can see Luke Skywalker. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Keep
He's
going.
got the lightsaber. Could you imagine what that would do to a vampire?
Ooh.
Oh. Imagine doing with anything. Because it cuts through anything almost.
Yeah. And it's light, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of like the scene in Big Bang Theory where Leonard was like, "You call that a glow stick? This is a glow stick."
All right. So the last but not least, what is your horror hot take?
Does it have to be like all things horror, or can it be like one thing? Like, does it have to be a show, or does it have to be literature, or is this your hot take?
Just your hot take. Like the genre as a whole. Lisa?
oh, okay. I really don't like CGI.
Okay.
I am very much a practical girl as far as things. I think practical effects makes you imagine more and puts things in your head, where CGI just kind of eliminates your imagination altogether. So it's not as fun. I mean, it might be fun, but it's not. It's like they put their own imagination instead of you using yours, because that's what scares you the most. Is you get imagination and you start thinking, "Oh my God, what is that?"
And it's kind of hard to. Sorry, I was about to say it's also kind of hard to interact with CGI, because with practical effects, you could actually touch it and see it.
Exactly.
Yep. It is.
And also, I'm sorry, I do not like the new It. I think it was awful. It was not scary. And that particular actor, which I will not name, does not have the expressions like Tim Curry had. And it was kind of stupid. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I didn't like it. I didn't think he had the feeling like Curry did. I didn't think he got into the acting as much. I think they just put that CGI makeup on him, and then they did all these extra things, and that was it. But mostly my hot take is I prefer practical over CGI.
Okay.
I thought that was like actually more his real makeup, because I saw the set movie, and that was more practical makeup. And he could also move his eyes separately from each other. That's kind of creepy. Like if somebody moves their eyes separately from each other, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Are you okay, sir? Dang, I would say for me the hot take is found footage sucks for me. I don't like found footage horror, because every time I watch it I get motion sickness, and I'm like, I can't enjoy it like other horror movies. So for me, found footage horror sucks.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's like really good ones out there, but if I watch it like 5-10 minutes later, I'm be like on the floor crying and putting my head in the trash can because it's the motion sickness.
No, that's fair. I would say probably my horror hot take is that they're currently making horror films to meet the ideas of the masses right now, instead of actually sticking to what is horror. They're trying to like appeal to non-horror lovers, and I think it's kind of making horror a little on the tame side. I think it's starting to lose some of its luster by that. So I find like a lot of the newer horror stuff isn't as horrifying. It just kind of has more of like an action or thriller type feel than actual horror.
I would definitely agree.
It doesn't really invoke that emotion of like despair and dread,
like
terror. You're kind of like, oh, this is an action movie with some horror elements.
Yeah, like even the ones that would be like, for me, that are more terrifying are like the ones that could actually happen. So like Saw and Hostel, those ones tend to be a little bit more like, I should probably leave the light on and keep the closet doors open, that kind of thing. But even now, like like I watch some of like the newer stuff and I'm like, like I don't see how this is scary. I
You keep the closet door open? I close that.
I keep it open because I don't want to open it later and something be there. I want to be able to wake up and I know there's nothing in that closet. But no, it's just one of those deals of like, I think right now that we've talked about this before, about kind of like just nerdism or nerd whatever, and as a whole, like with cons and things like that, that there are people who are now going who used to make fun of people who went to those things. Who used to make fun of the people who were into all of this. Like I remember in high school, if you were a goth, like the jocks picked on you. You know, until they thought maybe you knew some witchcraft and then you could put like a curse on them. And then they were like, I'm staying as far away from you as possible. But until they got that vibe, they were like, I'm going to bully you because I think you're weird and I don't like that. And now they're like, oh yeah, let's go to the horror movie. Let's go to the convention. And like you go to a horror con and it's nothing but frat boys are us. And you're just like, are you actually here because you like horror? Or are you here because it's kind of cool right now? Just because it's the it thing. And it's evident that people are making content that is geared towards that. Where it's the popular thing, so we got to make things that go with the popular thing. Versus, no, we're making it because we actually like this genre. We wanted to see it grow and we want to see the quality of it continue on.
Yeah, I understand that.
But that's my personal hot take.
I mean,
speaking of that, you were talking about the feelings and stuff. I went to go see 45 meters down in the movie theater. Now, it didn't have a lot of special effects, but the way they did that scene where you felt like you were suffocating underwater in the theater. It was so dark, and they did the sea under the sea really, really well. It wasn't clear. It was murky. You saw the little, and you're like, that could actually, a cage could actually break and you could go down there and you never know. If it's great white mating season, you're in trouble, but that is kind of the atmosphere that it was horrifying because I felt really suffocated. And it takes a lot for me to feel like that from a horror film nowadays.
Yeah, for me, from like the horror movie that really got me, the new ones, is Megan, because of the whole artificial intelligence thing. Because we rely so much on technology that what if technology turns on us? Kind of like in the Terminator with the whole Skynet thing.
Odyssey 2001.
Like that little, that too. I was like, that little girl. Her programming got messed up, and then next thing you know, she's like murdering everybody.
Yeah,
like what if I have a Lexus in my house or something like that, and her programming gets messed up, and she like locks everybody in, and it's like, you cannot. I'm protecting you. You must be safe. You cannot leave. I need sunlight.
That's how.
You should check out. You should check out Demon Seed. That's exactly. It was written in the 70s, and it was Dean Koontz warning about the whole AI. It's really good. The book is way better. But still, I joke at work all the time because we have all these robots that go around for the pickers and stuff, and you follow them. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be like Chopping Mall because they have lasers that you scan. What happens if they become aware? And it's like Chopping Mall. Oh my God.
It's been forever since I heard that name.
Right.
I watched it a month ago.
It's a good movie. It's campy as shit, but sorry.
It's going to remind me of like that other movie with the using technology and whatnot, Death Spa with Ken Foray and Foray, but they have the technology to help you build your muscles, lose weight, and then next thing you know, oh no, something's happening and everyone's dying. It's kind of like going to like Death Spa. Like, why do I need technology to help me like get my arms pumped? And then next thing you know, you rip off my arms while I'm bench pressing. What?
I mean, ever since what was it, the Silver Age of horror? When like sci-fi kind of started blending in with horror, they've been talking about how artificial intelligence is going to take over and we're going to become slaves to the machine. We're basically right there.
I mean, yeah.
So that's going to kind of lead us into our final thoughts, I guess, of like horror. why we love it, what it's all about kind of deal. I think one of the biggest things that is about the horror genre for me is the simple fact that it does reflect reality. It shows us the multitude of futures that we could have if we don't make the right choices. And I think that's kind of interesting that's kind of where we're at when it comes to storytelling. That horror can give us that glimpse into reality when we make the wrong choice.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything and everything can happen all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So any final thoughts?
But technology, man.
Right?
Technology, man.
So what do you ladies think? What are your final thoughts on horror?
For me, horror is forever changing. It could be good, it could be bad, but it's always forever changing into something new, something different, but it still evokes that same feelings of fear and terror. You could have like a campy horror, but you still have that anticipation of that jump scare. So yeah, for me, horror is horror, and there's nothing you can really do about it. It will forever be here. It will forever change and mutate into something new, different, something back, sometimes reverse back to something old. But horror is horror, man.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I agree with you on that. It's definitely something that, fear is actually healthy. It makes you use your brain that you're supposed to, so it's kind of good. There was a study that was done about horror movies, how it's really actually healthy for you to be a little bit of fearful. But horror is, like she said, ever evolving.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing might not scare you now, but it might scare you later. So, I mean,
yep.
It's just what it is. And we need it. We really do.
We truly do.
I mean, it's really funny. Like people said, if you could like watch a horror movie and then go to bed, that means you're like a psychopath. No, it just means I was entertained. I got my fear out. I could go to bed.
Hey, some of us who are neurospicy need that adrenaline rush to knock us out. So,
yeah,
falling asleep to a horror movie might just be my thing because I can kind of need it to go to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I will watch a horror show, a horror movie, and then next thing you know, I'm like, okay, now it's time for me to bed.
Yep.
Same.
Well, ladies, that is a wrap. I think it's amazing that we all love horror. We all love it for different reasons. We all have different perspectives, and we all came from different backgrounds when it came to horror, but we all love it the same. And I think that's amazing. Honestly, it's been a pleasure for me the past few weeks talking to these ladies, just chit-chatting about horror and getting everything ready for this podcast. So from all of us here at Earth Station Boo, thank you, the listener, for joining us. Also, we would love to shout out and thank the ESO Network for opening the door for us and helping us get this off the ground. Mike Faber has been an amazing executive producer who's done a lot of behind the scenes stuff to help me out with this. But thank you again. Like, as a listener, it means a lot for us to know that you're listening to us and enjoying this podcast. Even if it's just this one episode that you've heard, thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, horror fans. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks a whole
All right.
bunch.
So, ladies, where can they find you if they want to hear more of your personal take on things and not just what we talk about here on the podcast? Lisa, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Shin Lisa of Instagram, and you can also find me on Facebook, Lisa Shin, spelled with a Y. Right now, that's all my social media. I'm working on getting some more.
Rock on. So, Karen?
You can find me on Facebook as Karen Bembry. I'm also on TikTok as Karen the Writer. I'm on Instagram as Karen Bembry or Karen R. Bembry. I'm on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, as Blasian Fury. That used to be my ring name. So I'm on Threads, also Karen Bembry. But I'll create a link tree for you guys so you can be like, click, yay.
All right, and you can find me, Shannon, at Spilled Tea Wine Media Mind. You can find me on all the things under that. But if you go to my Instagram, there should be a link tree there, so you can find me on all the other things that I do. But thank you all again so much. I really do appreciate both of you ladies for coming on. Like, honestly, you guys are amazing, and I couldn't do this without y'all. But you can find us, the podcast, anywhere where you listen to podcasts. So Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. We even have a YouTube, so you can go there and you can listen to us. And eventually, at some point in time, we do plan on doing visual things as well to go along with the podcast. So you'll be able to see us on there at some point in time. So please subscribe, share, like, follow, comment, do all the different things that you're supposed to do that we really like because it helps us with our numbers and all that kind of fun stuff. But you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok, X, Threads. We do have a Facebook group that Lisa is amazing at keeping us up to date with all the news stuff on. So thank you for doing that.
I mean, yeah, thank you. I'm like, ooh.
Right? And we can't wait to hear from you and tell us what you want to hear us chat about. Like, if you're like, hey, there's this movie, it's amazing, you need to talk about this movie, tell us. We want to make stuff that you guys want to listen to on top of all the fun stuff that we like talking about. But we would love to hear what your favorite horror movie is and why you love it. So stay spooky, our lovely ghouls.